Hello and welcome to the A-Form Show. My name is Alan George and thank you very much for tuning in. Each week, we sit across from thought leaders and change makers in the architecture and design space of the GCC. We dive deep into their experiences, both professionally and personally, and share their valuable insight as to what makes them tick. Our goal is to add value to your day and help you navigate your own personal creative journey. Finally, the opinions and the views of the guest speakers are that of their own. They do not necessarily represent the views and the opinions of the show or the host. Before we get into the show, we'd love to give a big shout out to our friends at Inscape Education Management, based right here out of Dubai Design District. Inscape is a design training institute specializing in skill training specifically for the design and creative professions. They currently offer short courses in architecture, fashion, interior design, and graphics design. Inscape's unique training style is aimed at training individuals through design thinking methodologies, enabling them to process and generate real-life solutions with confidence. If you're a working professional, they got you covered too. In addition to the daytime courses that they have running, there are courses tailor-made for you with evening sessions. They provide working professionals with an opportunity to acquire new skills when it suits them. In a nutshell, you can earn while you learn. So the time is now. Pick up a new skill and add value to your workspace. If this is of interest to you, feel free to reach out to them on Instagram and Facebook at We Are Inscape UAE. That is, We Are Inscape UAE. Our guest today is Douglas Sum. Douglas comes with a wealth of knowledge within the facade or building skin space. With an education from the University of Hong Kong, Douglas has gone on to work with international design firms all across the Pacific Rim and the MENA region. He is currently an associate Facade Service Group Leader for Aurecon, a global engineering, design and advisory company. A few of his milestone projects would be the Hong Kong Disneyland, the Viceroy on the Dubai Palm, the Dubai Metro, and currently the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa in our very own backyard. Also, he has worked as the facade consultant team leader on another super tall cable-stayed building in Dubai, the Dubai Creek Harbour Tower, which is designed by the famous Spanish architect Santiago Calatrava. Douglas has held various leadership roles with both consultants and contractors, giving him a unique perspective of design, execution, and supervision. He also brings vast knowledge across design management of the same. Currently, his interests expand into innovation and seeking any opportunities to reform the facade design entirely by using the latest digital technologies that we have at hand. Douglas is very active in both the professional and academic space of engineering facades. Having spoken at multiple summits across the globe, Douglas believes in educating the sector and pushing the boundaries of what can be achieved in this space. It is truly an honor to have him in the studio today. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Yeah.
We're recording now.
Yeah, good. Okay, yeah.
Awesome. So, welcome again, Douglas.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me here again.
Awesome to have you. So, I'm just going to quickly dive into it. Obviously, we all understand your background in facade engineering.
Yes.
I don't completely understand it, which is why we're here, obviously. But I'm hoping by the end of this episode that at least I would have a little more clarity on it. So what I want to understand, like right off the bat, is facade engineering doesn't seem like something which someone studies directly. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's something which you kind of start as a generalist and then you become a specialist in something. And
Correct.
That's how you reach facade engineering. So
Yes.
I kind of want to understand, is that how it is? Was that how it is with you? Or did you know from day one that's what you wanted to do? Or did you find it?
Actually, I'm the one who's always have a plan. But eventually, when I now think of back for myself, I realize that there's none of the things go to my plan. Yeah, say for example, it's let's say like this. When I was in the studying, I was not think of anything regarding the facade engineering.
Right.
And I was a very good structural and civil engineer.
Okay.
And my first job is to build the Hong Kong Disneyland. Yeah.
That's a pretty sizable first job to be working on.
Yeah, so time will move on and then you will understand you more. Yeah, so you suddenly realize that you fall in love in something and then, but you are just chasing the path and suddenly you will find something that you love. And that's how I approach facade engineering. And when you really in passion in something, it's study or go to school or having a lecture or examinations, does not help. Yeah.
Right.
Actually, when you think of what's the subject that you study in the university, can you still remember that one? Most likely that I kind of forget everything. Yeah. But when you think of this every day, especially right now, you have this the best profession in the world is called Google.
That's true.
That you can know everything quite easily. Like this, you know everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to describe facade engineering in one line or two lines, how would you best describe it?
I would say it's the same as the human skin.
Okay.
Yeah. So this will be like this. So when you need to design a facade, you think of what if this is the skin of yourself.
Okay.
Then you will understand how will it be.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe I could elaborate a little bit. Say for example, have to be flexible, have to be extendable. Otherwise, that is when you move,
Right.
your screen will crack.
True.
Yeah.
True.
At the same time, it will be having some fat to keep you warm.
Right.
Yeah, and then also have to be structurally strong. Yeah, so actually, if someone hitting you, well, of course, it's not very. You cannot be too fragile.
True. True.
Yeah, so this so you can think of the facade is a very living things. Yeah, it is moving together. It's living together with the buildings. Yeah, same with your skin, and of course, skin most important, beautiful, must be beautiful.
Of course. Okay. So would it then be fair to say that, like you said, like if you consider it to be a building skin, there are multiple elements obviously to it that have to work in harmony. Would you know of, say, the top 3 or top 5 underrated factors which go into facade design, which people probably don't think of but is really important?
I will think of the first things is the designer. Yes, always think of the world is perfect. So they will draw one line and then the lines split together and then think of that will be the design. But actually, you have a lot of the tolerances. You have to accept one thing is in the world nothing's perfect.
Right.
So you have to design for the worst scenario. Yeah, what if this thing goes wrong? What if the things will not be happening on site? Yeah, so you have to think of all scenarios.
Right.
Cannot be too optimistic. Yeah, so that is the one underrated factors. And also the fabrication limitations. Yeah, when you draw, if you want to design something, I want to have 100 meters of the glass. Yeah, you can draw it on the paper. You even can calculate make it work. But practically, you don't have such machine in the world. Yeah, when you're doing these things, once you lift, the glass will break by its own weight. Yeah.
Right.
So in theory, many things works, but you have to be dig into the actual practical factor. To start from the raw materials to the manufacturing to the installation and for the maintenance as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a full cycle. So you cannot just think, I want to do something and then eventually, I will make it happen. Ding, it will happen. No, that's a long process. So this will be another thing that you need to consider. A lot of things, when you are doing the design, you underestimate the effort that you have to spend on, say, for example, the coordinations, and then you are talking. This is a human business. Yeah, when you do your design, this will not just happen by one man. Eventually, you will be linking so many people. You have the supplier, you have the fabricator, you have the logistic people, you have the installer, everything. How you can deliver your message seamlessly, yeah, without any obstacle through every single party who get involved. Actually, this is a thing that everyone's missed, but actually it's very important.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say the tolerances, the actual the fabrications considerations, and then also the coordinations. You interact with the people surrounding you. If you go for a facade design, the people will just think of you have some perfect mind. You just draw what you want, and then it will happen. But no, you have to consider these 3 things first.
Right. Okay. I mean, that sounds That sounds really interesting because those are things which you don't normally think of immediately. Because, even as an architect like myself, like you said, the very first thing I think of is, the type of glazing and the opening and, the overall design. But yeah, I think you're right. I think those three factors, if you consider those, I'm assuming your overall design would be a lot more practical. And therefore, you're thinking more about the longevity of the skin, not really just designing it
Correct.
per
Yeah.
se. So, having said that, it seems like like I said, a very technical field to some extent. Obviously there is design in it, but it seems like you need to know technically, like you said, a lot of tolerances, a lot of numbers off the top of your head, which you would be able to use in your design. Obviously, given your portfolio of experience, I have to ask, which thus far has been the most challenging? I won't say hardest, I'll say the most challenging facade that you've had to work on, and why?
You know what? This is a very interesting. Is no matter how hard that you did before, and when you pass through it, you don't feel any difficulty at all. Yeah. So right now, I cannot think of anything that is kind of very very challenging. But I would say this come to some very interesting wisdom. Is technically there's nothing very difficult. The only difficult is always come from humans. Yeah. It's always come from your project team. Are they set up as a good team? Are they technically competent? Are they towards the same goal? Or are they considering the others? That I will say that will be a more challenging. Every challenging work that I am thinking right now is to the humans. Yeah,
Right.
it's not to the glass. Say for example, go back to my 100-meter long glass. Yeah, 100 meter may be exaggerated. Say 15 or 25-meter long glass. Okay, I didn't design it, but the longest one that I designed is a 15 meters long. Okay, so yeah, so
Sorry, when you say 15 meters, you're saying 15 meters as one single panel.
correct.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so what it means when you think of a glass having, when you think of a one floor is approximately 3.5 meter tall. So it's a 15 meter that's like maybe 4 to 5 meter long glass in one shot.
Right.
Yeah. So structurally, that you have to consider everything, and then you have to be considered. Yeah, just like what I go through this all the things before is when you're manufacturing, yeah, the machine can be ready for doing these things. Can the table to manage this glass can be moving along with these things? When you try to lift up the glass, yeah, how many suckers that you have to consider? Yeah, so everything can be kind of you consider, and then you can make it right.
Okay.
However, once you design everything and then come to the client didn't tell you what's his budget. And when you design everything and eventually, actually, whether he intended to hide this fact behind his back because he wants to see these things happening and he wants to test the tasting the water. After all this effort spent, and then when we tell them what's the expected cost, and then, okay, fine, yeah, so we are not going to do it.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the very first thing when you think about value engineering, the very first thing that everyone hits is normally the facade, which was going to be a question later on, but now that we're here, I might as well ask it. I'm assuming one of the biggest challenges in your field would obviously be value engineering, right? So my question is, how do you, at say your level, how do you kind of convince a client with your vision? Obviously they're just going to look at, what their budget is and how much your scheme costs. But from your experience, how have you seen clients kind of come over onto your side? Are they more bought over or sold by just the design, or is it something which maybe you kind of show them how efficient the building will work with the skin? Is there savings there? Is that the kind of angle that you would take? Or how would you convince them about your proposal?
I think it's first of all you have to understand the vision of the client. Yeah.
Right.
Client is a human, so he has his own vision, he has own perspective to look at the things, and he has own background and constraints. Yeah. So some clients that he's very rich, so he can spend the money. Actually, rich doesn't mean that he can spend. Yeah. So actually, this is different logic. So some clients love to spend. Some clients doesn't want to spend. Some clients want to spend particular money for some particular things. Some of them have their own concern. So even for a development, some buildings that is when you build and then you sell it to someone else, and then you are none of your business. Some of them you build for your own self, and then you keep maintaining it for 40 years. So by having understanding your client, you will understand what their basic needs. When you understand that, you can be tailor-make your facade solution and design in order to suit their needs. It is how they can buy into your concept. Yeah, I'm just tell you one very practical examples. When you are telling a developer who is doing a residential building, for talk about the environmental friendly, very energy saving property, they're not buying to it. Why? Because the residential blocks eventually will be sold out to the end user, and then they will be having no ownership of this building. And the buyer will never consider, most of them will not consider the environmental perspective. No one concerned about how many developed buildings they go to buy. Yep. So that's why this is not part of their concern. So they say, yeah, why are you telling me about this? How many energy saved over here? But that will help a lot if you are building a hotel.
Right.
If the hotel, say, is the biggest group here, Jumeirah Group, so they are the builders and also the one to run this hotel, how to operate is their major concern. If you build a shopping mall, how to save their AC is their biggest concern. Yeah, how to maintain, to operate. Just go back to this shopping mall. Yeah, the biggest concern to them actually is how to keep open the shopping mall 24 hours, 7 days. Yeah, but at the same time, the building need to be maintained. Right. Yeah. So how can it be? Yeah. So if you are creating a very special maintenance machine, who can be perfectly hidden in somewhere in the shopping mall, but it can be very easy to mobilize, can be fixed the thing in a very short distance. No matter how expensive this is, they will buy it.
Right.
Yeah. So that is the way. This is the trick. That is how we are dealing with our clients.
Okay.
Regarding the cost things. Yeah. So they always talk about this very expensive. Yeah, it can be a bit cheaper, but you have to understand, where they want to spend.
Right. That actually, interestingly enough, brings me to my next question also, which is, it needs a little backstory. So the first time I didn't meet you, but I rather saw you, was at the Doors and Windows facade exhibition that happened a few months back. And there I kind of came right towards the end, like I told you previously about your presentation. And I believe the reason why I came was because you were kind of talking about a new delivery system.
Yep.
Specifically, obviously, for facades. I was wondering if you could, I know it's hard without visuals to kind of explain it to our listeners, but if you could verbally, in a sense, kind of give them an idea as to what this new system is that you're proposing.
Okay, all right. So right now you have to be understanding that the facade industry itself is still using a lot of 2D drawings in order to do the shop drawings and do all the design work. Yeah, most likely because of the complexity of the facade systems, and then this is quite difficult to be putting in a 3D model and then put it in the BIM model. So right now, let's one step backward. Is when you are having a design, what is the design flow? Yeah, so let's talk about the flow first. Okay, so first you have an architect, and then they design a building, and then they approach the facade consultant to provide a facade design. So normally you find a facade consultant, and the facade consultant look at your architecture, and then eventually they will providing a design intent of the drawing. So what's meaning design intent? That means the facade will look like this.
Right.
Yeah, with some performance criteria. That thing can be withstand of the wind of how many wind speed, wind load, weather proof of how many Pascal, of how much pressure that the water will not leak in, etc. This is the performance parameters. So they will give you two things: design intent and the performance parameters. Eventually, it will go to the tender process. So the main contractor and the facade contractor will base on your design intent and your performance parameters to tender this project.
Right.
Okay. So once they tender the project, and then they get the project, this is the project with them, the facade contractor, the first thing is to look at your design intent and the performance parameters, and they will develop their own systems. They will develop their own thing. So what it means that they will be submitting their own systems to the facade consultant for their review and approval. Make sure that will be meet their design intent.
Right.
Yeah. So once it's approved, that they will be going through the 10 fabrication drawings, and then they will do a BIM model in order to do the coordinations with the other trades, etc., etc. So it will be finally, there's a fabrication data will be go to the fabrication, and then will be do the installation on site. So that's the whole process. Okay. It's a bit long, but this is a process. So there's an issue. There's a two biggest issue. Number one, why a facade consultant make a design intent, and after that they stop their work, throw it to someone, and then this someone will do the design again and send to me for review and approval. Why not I just do it everything by myself?
True, but then you would then need those many resources as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, so the resources mean money.
True.
Yeah, so let's say I use 5 people to do the design, and then they need 10 people to do the shop drawings, because they are in more detail.
Right.
So why not I am using 10 people starting from the day one to do all the design, and then they just get my drawings and then start the fabrications. So you'll save 5 people.
True.
As the whole project perspective.
Okay.
So this is point number 1. Point number 2 is what I said is that they need to send a shop drawings, and they need to do a fabrication drawings, and they also need to do the BIM model. But in the current technology, 3 things are isolated. They are not talk to each other. Yeah, okay. So say for example, if you're having the coordination issue and then you change one thing in the BIM model, you have to do it as well manually in the AutoCAD, in the shop drawings, get the approval again, and you have to remind yourself to change it in the fabrication drawings.
Right.
What if you just forget that?
Right.
Yeah. So
which is quite common.
Common.
Yeah.
So right now, what we are developing in Aurecon is we combine 3 things together: shop drawings, BIM model, and fabrication drawings, all in one single model.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you will say, oh my God, so if you say that everyone will do the same. Yeah. So how come that you are the only one in the world with doing these things? Yeah. So we will say it is a design revolutions. Yeah. So I call it a facade design 4.0. So what's 4.0? So first, what is
1.0?
What is 1.0? Hand sketches.
Okay.
2.0, AutoCAD.
Okay.
3.0, modeling.
Okay.
4.0, which is what I'm doing, I do program. I write scripts.
Okay.
Instead of drawing line by line in the model, in the sheet, I put everything into a program. I write program in order to do the design. So we are designed by program.
I mean, forgive my ignorance on this again. So would this be more towards parametric design?
Correct. Yeah, but in the parametric design, they also they normally talk about the modulations.
Right.
The modulation change, and then you can change one parameter, and then you will change everything. But we are using this parametric design to be even deeper into a facade detailing.
Okay.
And then we are successfully develop a algorithm such that we are approaching the design automations.
Okay.
By providing a parameters.
Okay.
And then and the technical library, which we establish as a whole library as a server. And then by telling the machine that this is the parameters that we want, we can generate by this machine the detail that we want.
Okay. I'm sure perhaps maybe you can't go into detail about it at this stage, but for our listeners, any particular program which you would recommend that they explore to better understand scripting and designing facades based on that?
If you talk about the program, the one program that we are doing is a Grasshopper,
right,
and then a Python.
Okay.
And then this is the 2 major programs that we are working on.
Okay. And do they have a live link with each other, or do you have to work in each program in isolation?
No, this is basically the whole platform is by the Grasshopper.
Right. Okay.
And then, but we are using Python in order to just as an API in order to write something which is having the limitation from the Grasshopper.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I guess that shows you how much I know about it. But that's really interesting because I would imagine as a benefit then, the human error, like you said, would be dramatically reduced.
Correct.
Right. How have you found from your experience when you use that workflow in this market? How responsive are, say, contractors, for example? Do they actually get this workflow? Are they happy to come on board with it, or do you still see some resistance from them?
I can see that they are positive. And a few facade contractors who are trying our service, and then they are having a very positive feedback and become our long-term customer already. But I will say it depends on the projects. If you're having a project which is pretty conventional, which is like a block, square, rectangular block, right, the way that we are doing will not be saving too much time and effort compared with the conventional approach.
Okay.
However, if you talk about a free-form canopy, free-form facade and skylight, and then that we have a very unbeatable advantage because of this is basically you cannot do it by hand, but we can do it in extremely fast.
Right.
Yeah.
Fast and accurate and measurable, I would imagine.
Correct. Yeah.
Because the next question I would have is this model that you then develop in Grasshopper, for example, because it's a model, you can then do a lot of simulation on it, I would imagine, right? A question that I have is these simulations that you do, I would imagine that at some point there is some level of error that, you're probably not accounting for. For example, if someone were to say that, this is, say, X amount efficient, or this can take up to wind loads of XYZ, whatever it may be. Are there any safety factors that you apply to them in your simulation to make them over-designed?
That will be a very interesting one actually. As I just talk about this, the window case.
Right.
We can have a design automation tool, and this is like an iteration, or you have another term called the generative design, such that we are designing an algorithm of, say, for example, one form of the facade in one particular directions. And then we can providing our window parameters, and we can have iterations of the different form of the facade. Say, for example, different modulations, different size, and different supporting mechanism, such that we can generate the most optimistic, most optimum size of the members in order to save the materials the most to the client. Yeah, so this is a byproduct of what we are doing. That is the design optimizations. And then that will be very easy as a part of our module, is a part of our design.
Okay.
And this is be proven will be is a really great. We just did a comparison for one project with having a double skin as a concept, as starting from the architect gave us the concept, and eventually we just using the design optimization tool in order to run the whole process with them. Eventually we saved 30% of the materials but receiving the same architectural intent. So you think of 30% of the aluminum save.
That's a big amount. I mean, that's a massive amount, actually.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so 30% is what is the concept? This is huge,
Yeah, that's like 30% of the building skin, like saved.
you feel of yourself, your own weight, suddenly light by 30%.
Yeah.
You like flying,
True. Well, on that note, I think we can fly away for a short little break, and we'll be back right after this. Don't go anywhere, guys. See you soon.
See you.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode thus far. It makes us really, really proud that we can add value to your commute, your drive, your workout, your design time, whatever it is that you may be doing, and keep you inspired. Our inspiration and passion is fueled by the amazing team over at the Orange Design Group. The Orange Design Group, or ODG as they're affectionately known, is an award-winning boutique design firm specializing in bespoke, client-centric design solutions. They're based right here out of Dubai. What's cool with them is that under their umbrella, they offer an integrated design concept with architectural, specialist lighting, and home automation services. Their designs are super clean, as in super, super clean. They have a keen eye for detail, and their work has gone on to be featured in various media outlets, both locally and internationally. Their work has won multiple awards across various fields. Currently, they're working on delivering niche, residential, and cultural projects across the GCC. Their work is truly, truly, truly inspiring for any designer. You guys should definitely check them out. They're on LinkedIn and Instagram. The handles are @Orange Design Group. That is @Orange Design Group. Welcome back, guys. Thank you guys for listening to us again this week. As you know, we appreciate it a lot. We're sitting in talks with Douglas over here about facade engineering. And to be honest, there's so much that goes into it, which I didn't really know until like we are having this conversation. How long have you been doing facade engineering, just so that I know?
15 years, 15.
Yeah, so that's clearly a long time. So, I mean, you would definitely know in this region, for example, in the Middle East, the GCC, where do you see facade engineering as a field kind of going, or the direction it's taking in, say, the next decade or so? What are the kind of trends or the kind of requirements that clients are now putting in front of you, which you think will carry on into the future?
I think we'll be go to totally two extreme scenario. One is the building becoming cheaper and cheaper, and to a point that it's becoming like a IKEA. It's just like a pick and build, and no more design is required.
So it would become really modular.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I already can see that for the recent residential tower, even from some very major, is like from the major developers, the design that they have is pretty much very close, and all the design already ready available by the supplier. So the involvement of the facade consultant design is becoming less and less. So when you push it to be extreme, so one day that they can say, I just get the typical detail from the designers already, from the supplier already, so I don't need from you. It can be. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So this is one extreme. But the another side of this is there must be some client, there must be some architect will try to push the limit of their own design. Will be tasting the limit of the technology. They will be trying to make something impossible, and they will be pushing the industry become one step further. And then that will be for those very eye-catching projects. Say, for example, the Museum of the Future, the City Walk, which is having the skylight on the top. This kind of the iconic buildings becoming more and more because of two things. Number one is the technology right now available is allowing the industry to play more. This is number one. Number two is some clients, although they are going to do things with the modular and cheap for so many locations, they love to build a one iconic buildings just right in the middle in order to attract people. Yeah, so they would love to spend money on that particular one.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So I will see this as two extreme markets.
Okay. Which is interesting because, I mean, on the one hand, that is a problem. Obviously, there are two extremes, but then at least you won't have average buildings, I guess, because all of them would either go to the either end, like you said. Something for the listeners, the architects and the designers, both of them really. A lot of the listeners, I imagine, do not really have the flexibility to perhaps bring on a facade consultant isolated for their project. Perhaps they're working on something which is, relatively small scale, something which perhaps they themselves have to design the facade for. So is there any, I know I hate the number 3, but, like the top 3 fundamentals which you can probably give to help them kind of improve their design or improve their output? Maybe if it's something as simple as like a typical detail, which you highly, highly recommend, which has, a lot of upside in terms of savings or, whatever it may be. I'm trying to kind of give the listeners something which they can take home and kind of implement in their workflow.
So first, like what I said, you have two extreme. One is the modular buildings.
Right.
Yeah, which is, we don't talk about another extreme because that needs a lot of the research and the development.
Right.
Yeah. So I will assume the future facade consultant will all fall to that category.
Right.
So I think, let's say, is a typical buildings which is the majority in the market. That is, if you have an architect, which is you don't, and like you said, you don't have a budget of employing a facade consultant. So what you do first, you can specify a very good facade system supplier, the glazing supplier, which is the systems already tested.
Okay.
Yeah. So you will not specifying something wrong. Yeah, so in terms of the systems, it can't be wrong already. Yeah, so this is the first one. The second one is who is going to implement these systems. So this is the this is the contractor. So the contractor should be having a good pre-qualifications.
Right.
Yeah. So having said that, in terms of contractually, the facade contractor have the liability to ensure the building is the watertight and airtight.
Okay.
So if something goes wrong, it will fall to them. So a good facade contractor will ensure the thing will go right.
Okay.
So you have a good systems and you have a good facade contractor. So it will kind of help you to ensure your building integrity is safe. All right. However, yeah, so having said that, since the building is being very budget thing, yeah, so the thing that I just described may not be happening. So what you should do if you are the consultant, I want to build my building, but I can't afford of this thing. Yeah, so what I can do? Worst things, okay, just if you're having one thing take away, as I will say, all the problem of the facade, the weakest point always come from the interfacing joints, interfacing locations. Interfacing is not meaning within the systems. Within the system, it can't be too wrong because it has been done for so many times. But the interfacing, which is purely done by the people on site, always the issue come from there.
What exactly would be interfacing?
Say, for example, if you have a glazing and then you interface with your structural slabs.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That particular part you cannot do in a factory. You must be do it on site. Due to the site limitations, as I said, maybe the access is very difficult for them to install. Maybe the time is the constraint that have no time to make it right. So they will do it in not a very proper way.
Right.
So if you talk about interfacing, if the interfacing is their weak point, the weak of the weakest point is at the corner of the interfacing. So you think of the balcony as an example, yeah? So when you're having your four slabs interfacing with the sliding doors,
Right.
that one is already as a weak point.
Right.
But when this weak point is linked to the interfacing detail to the wall, that particular corner
Is the weakest.
is the weakest of the weakest.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you just have one thing that you need to watch, go to see the corner.
Okay.
Nothing else.
That's cool. I mean, so there you guys go. Go check out the corners of your balconies and that.
Yeah, so everyone can be a facade consultant. Yay!
No, I mean, but that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's small practical things like that which people can implement overnight, and it would make a significant difference to them, which is exactly what this kind of show is about. So thank you very much for that. I mean, that's quite interesting. I think I might do that tomorrow. Whoever the contractor is tomorrow, I'm sorry. You're going to have to explain some stuff. Talking about contractors and suppliers, like you said, I want to know in this region how, because you mentioned the market kind of being split going towards either the highly modular and super efficient or highly parametric and complicated.
Correct.
How are you seeing contractors and suppliers? How open are they to both these scenarios? I imagine that for the modular situation, they're quite good because I guess it saves them a lot of time and money. How do you see them reacting to the other extreme where things become super specialist with a lot of complication?
It depends on the contractors. Depends on their previous experience and their own capability. I think they are also like to do both, just a matter of price. Yeah, the worst thing is they are going to do the highly parametric freeform thing, but they are being requested to go for the modular cost.
That's the worst scenario.
Yeah, that's the worst scenario, which is happening in this region right now, So if you're having a good fee, so to taking care of all the risk, at the same time you can bring in a good team, and you're having enough resources of doing the pre-construction work, I think most of the contractor in this region are able to provide the good quality work.
Okay.
But the point is, the assumption that I just said is not happening in this region, Yeah, so in the reality is the market is very competitive, and the clients is being spoiled by the low-cost bidding games from between the contractors.
The race to the bottom.
Correct. And then so I think we also have to educate our client as well. Is cheap doesn't mean the best.
Right.
Yeah, they cheap come from a reason. Yeah, because someone become expensive, there's a reason. There's being cheap also with a reason behind. So I'm not saying this you should go for the most expensive one, but you have to understand behind the scene why they charge that high, because of the risk, because of the people, the capacity that they require to finish that project, or they just want to get more money from you and become rich. Yeah, so you have to understand what's the reason behind first.
Right. I mean, which makes sense. Completely agree with that. Client education is an area which I'm not really sure how we can tackle, but it definitely has to happen. A question that I had was, you mentioned earlier that you at Aurecon do a lot of research and design when you have these highly parametric freeform kind of structures. So my question is, right now, is there any particular area of facade design which is of interest to you, which you would want to research because you see a lot of potential in it?
Right now, I am spending very much of my time of the design automations. Yeah, like I said before, is we are writing a lot of programs. We are writing a lot of the modules inside Grasshopper in order to facilitate our design. I always making jokes to my team, which is kind of true. Is one day I will try to fire all the designers. Yeah, at the end of the day we will be scared. So actually, this is one of the vision that I'm giving to my team is AI, machine learning. Eventually will be disturbing our lives, will be disrupting our daily work right now. So there's only two choices that you can get rid from it. You can be independent from this. Either you are the one to control the machine, you are the one to write the program in order to control the machine learning, or you are the client facing, you are getting the human touch. Yeah, so my team right now is either they are the one to do this the programming, or the one like me is go outside and talk to the client, yeah, to obtain the actual basic needs from the client. So this is the if you say, I will say this is the two biggest research, and in my interesting or the current interest that I have to make my facade business growing.
Okay. How much would you say, if you were to say take your entire, say the work that you do in a year, how much of that as a percentage would you say you put towards research in your field?
You mean myself, or you mean the typical industry?
The typical industry, I would imagine.
If you talk about the facade consultant, I will say quite minimum.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that people are still used to the conventional approach, and then they make themselves being more competitive by finding cheap labor to do the drafting work, and then they are trying to be competitive by putting all the liability to the facade contractor. So they put the design intent to be very rough, and then eventually throw everything back to the facade contractor. That is the quite common practice of a facade consultant in this region, which is I try to get rid of that. Yeah, I'm trying to not fall into the same category.
Right.
Yeah, so back to me, I would say the amount of effort that I spent in the research, I would say 20 to 30%. And that is 10% will come from the pure time that I asking people to do the pure research. And another 10% is the kind of the inefficiency when you are doing the work in a new way. Yeah, say for example, when you do your work as the drafting work by the AutoCAD that you need 5 days of work. Right now, I'm asking you, you are not allowed to use the AutoCAD. You must use the Rhinos and Grasshopper to do these things. So instead of 5 days, you make it to be 6 days or 7 days. That's okay, all right? I allow for this thing. But next time, you need to be faster. And next time, when you're having the same design, you don't need to do it again because you already have the scripts.
Fair enough. So it would probably start off being really inefficient, but then it gets efficient exponentially.
Correct.
I would understand.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Outside of Aurecon, maybe still related to facade engineering, but outside of Aurecon, do you have any passion projects that you have running right now?
You mean within Aurecon or?
Within or outside of Aurecon, something which you're doing on your own, something which interests you, something which you're pursuing, an idea of any kind. a project of any kind?
Okay, all right. I have one experience of doing the facade inspections outside the building. Yeah, so I am on a BMU machines, and then I hang myself outside as the 7-story high building, and the BMU machine just stop, and then when it's run, it stop in the middle of in the air, and I just waiting there for more than half an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, for nothing. Yeah, that half an hour actually I feel like for my entire life, you know. Yeah. So when I feel so lucky to land on the ground, and I just promise myself I will not do these things again. Okay. Yeah. So what I am doing right now is I am trying to establish the facade inspection by drones. Yeah. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So actually, if
That's
you.
pretty cool.
So if you think of one thing is by the way, that inspections that I did. I spent, including that half an hour idling time, is sitting on the cradle. I used 3 to 4 hours to inspect something in the 30th floor. Just maybe 15 minutes to 20 minutes inspection, but I spent 3 to 4 hours of my inspections. Why? And then why you put someone at risk? Yeah, may not be me, maybe a operator, but this is his life. He has his own family. How can you risk your labor, your teammates' life at risk of doing these activities at such low efficiency? No. So right now I am investigating of using drones in order to do the facade inspections. But you have several concerns, yeah. And then except for the approval from the authority regarding to flying drones in the space in the public area, that is the most difficult one. But in technical wise, we handle everything already. So instead of taking photos, we are taking a serious hundreds, thousands, millions of photos, and we can write a algorithm to combine all the photos together and back to a very high definition image of the building. Wow. And based on that one, we can zoom inside to that building in order to do the inspection for the gaskets, for the ceiling, for everything.
That much detail, like all the way down to a gasket.
Correct, yeah. And then we already try, and it already can be done. We almost to a point to have a project to try these things, but eventually being stopped by the official because we have one part just next to it.
Of course.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, so that is one of the things which is we are doing is very interesting.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of VR experience to my customers. One of the things that we are doing the research is that we have the VR experience of the glass. So what's the problem of the glass? Actually, glass is not just glass, especially the architectural glass. They have the coating which gives you the color, but the color itself in a different angle you have a slightly different color. So we are now having a close relationship with one of the glass supplier, and then we have a deep analysis. When they have their own glass, we are going to take 16 images of that glass from different angles. And then we are trying to combine this effect into a BIM model, such that when I render this BIM model becoming a VR, inside a VR environment, I can have this very true glass visual appearance in my VR environment.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so this is the thing that we are working as well.
So when you say VR, you're talking about the client kind of experiencing the facade from the outside, or is it from the inside as well?
From inside and outside. Actually, once you're in a VR environment, you can do everything. You can fly, you can penetrating the glass, you can do anything, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So then basically that makes your VR a lot more accurate because you're getting information directly from the supplier.
Correct. Yeah. And then we are working very closely with them.
Okay. That's good. I mean, that definitely makes you a lot more efficient. I can kind of see a pattern with you and efficiency. I feel like that's like your main go-to thing, to become more and more efficient with anything that you do.
Yes. And then this is an endless journey. Yeah. Which is good. That means I can keep my job forever, you know?
Right. Finally, Douglas, my last question is something which I found really interesting. I actually want to know a bit more about it because it is something which I am also interested in. Mm-hmm. Could you tell our listeners about your work with Habitat for Humanity?
Okay. Yeah, this is a very, very good experience that I am having in my young career life. All right. So so I have to talk about a little bit about my own background. It's
Sure.
Yeah, I come from Hong Kong, and then it's a very good international city. And my family is not very rich, but we are kind of. I always feel that I'm blessed by having such a lovely parents and my elder brother. So I am always surrounded by love. To one point that is after when I graduate and then I start to work, I find that I'm a guy is really fortunate. Yeah, I am so lucky. To a point that I feel that if I'm not contributing or sharing my luck,
Giving back. in a
giving back
sense. Yeah.
to the others, that I feel that I will find guilty, Yeah, that you feel something's wrong. Yeah, that will be something wrong for me. So so I will think of to do something to give back. So I say, okay, yeah, so how do you want to give back? And then immediately that I can think of, yeah, so instead of I do something general, what if I just using my own professionalism, my own profession, in order to contribute back to the society? So this has come with that organization, which is international, is operated by the team of the US people, but they are doing the volunteering work around the world. So what they're doing is they are building houses for the people they need. Okay, so I have been in Hungary, I have been Portugal, and then I also did something similar, but not the same organization, is in mainland China. So what I did is I practically using my hand to build residential buildings, yeah, for the people there. So I lay bricks, I put the cement, I put the insulations on the board, and then as an engineer, I also to make sure the things is properly built. I need to look at the drawings, and then I even talk with the officials and asking them, hey, why you do things here, why you do like that one, things. And so, which is the thing which is in your specialist, is you can providing more good advice, and then you know how to do it great. Yeah, so this is the way that I try to give back to the society. But at the same time, when you do your plastering on the wall,
Right.
yeah, you are training your mindfulness.
True.
Because of you are doing you clear all your mind, all the work, all the things, all the trouble that you have in your daily life is all gone, because you are very focused on every single patch of your plastering on the wall, which is you'll never do this one in your daily life.
It's almost meditative. You feel like you're meditating when you do it.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So you reflecting yourself.
Right.
This is a really, really interesting moment. Not to mention, after this one whole week of hard work, the next thing coming up is you have a very good Europe tour with my beloved wife. Yeah, so yeah.
That's always good.
Yeah, so you have a 1 week of the meditation, and then you have a 1 week of the Europe trip.
Right.
So this is a very good deal, actually.
True. It's something which I've always wanted to do. I hope to find the time sometime next year. But it's definitely something which I also wanted to explore for sure. I think on that note, Douglas, I think we're done.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
I definitely learned a lot about facades engineering. Specifically, that point about that balcony is like it's like hammered in my mind right now. And I hope, or rather, I'm sure whoever's listening definitely has taken back some value in everything that you had to say. So on everyone's behalf, I wanted to say thank you very much for coming.
Most welcome.
And we definitely hope to have you on in the future. Best of luck to you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, see you.
See you. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the complete episode. It means the world to us that you did. As you probably know, this episode, along with a host of many others, are available on all of your favorite streaming platforms. If this episode in any way added value to you, please subscribe to us and leave us a review. It really helps us get the show out there to a much, much, much larger audience. Feel free to share the episode with your friends, your colleagues, or anyone who may benefit from it. Meanwhile, if you'd like to get in touch with us, follow us on Instagram at aform.studio. That is at aform.studio, and send us a DM. That's it. It's that easy. All right, guys, this has been awesome, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Hi, this is Douglas Sum, and this is the A Form Show.